Hi everyone out there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be discussing about the epithelial tissue with us. So before that, let's quickly make a quick recap. When we're doing level of organization, what is tissue? Tissue is what level of organization? About 6 levels, right? If you could remember. So now when we talk about tissue, tissue is aggregation of cells that perform similar function in the body. We have 4 type of tissue: epithelial, muscular, nervous, and connective tissue. That's what we have. So now today I'll be discussing epithelial tissue. So another definition you can give tissue that makes more sense, that allows us to understand epithelial tissue and connective tissue, is that tissue can be defined as collection of cells and extracellular matrix that perform similar function in the body. So what is extracellular matrix? Extracellular matrix simply means the non-cellular portion of the tissue that provides structural and biochemical support for the tissue. That's what they call extracellular matrix. Extracellular matrix are made up of protein, enzyme, and collagen fibers. That is what they are made up of, extracellular matrix, in case you don't know. Now, class, I would also like to tell you about what they call parenchymal and stroma. When they say parenchymal, you see the word is over here, parenchymal and stroma. So the meaning of parenchymal simply means the functional tissue of an organ, or the functional cells of the tissue. That's what they call parenchyma. What of stroma? Stroma are distinguished from parenchyma because they are supportive framework of the tissue or an organ. You see that? So now, most of the connective tissue act as stroma tissue in the body because they support and give framework for a tissue and organ in the body. So that is what we have about parenchyma and what? Stroma. Alright, because of our subsequent teaching, you need to know those things: parenchyma, stroma. Alright, don't forget about that. So now, let me discuss epithelial tissue with us in a very brief moment. Now, epithelial tissue simply means epi is always at the top. That is the meaning of the word. Epi is the meaning at the top. Now, when you say epithelial tissue, what does that mean? Epithelial tissue are type of tissue that lines the external and the internal surface of the body, and they are also found in glands and organs. That is what we have about epithelial tissue. And now you see, in my title I wrote avascular or non-vascular. Now, epithelial tissue, they are type of avascular tissue in the body. So that's one of their characteristics. They lack blood vessels. You see that? They receive blood supply and nutrients from the underlying connective tissue. That is one of the characteristics of epithelial tissue. They are non-vascular or a type of avascular tissue in the body. Okay, so class, I want to also let you know that epithelial tissue can be classified generally into 2 groups. We could have glandular epithelium or membranous epithelium. Now, when we have glandular epithelium, you see that when we say glandular epithelium, then we also have membranous epithelium. Alright, so now class, let's quickly check that. Glandular epithelium are type of epithelium that are found in glands that produce secretion, such as sweat, such as breast milk, then such as protein and enzymes. So those are what they call glandular epithelium. They are mostly found in glands, and that is their major function is what? Special secretion in the body. That's what it does. Now, when it comes to membranous epithelium, they are type of the epithelial tissue that lines the external and the internal surface of the body, the ulnar organ and body cavity. The membranous epithelium can also be classified into 2. Now, we are subdivided into 2. We could have mucous, then we could have serous membranous epithelium. Now, there is a slight difference between them. When they say mucous membranous epithelium, they are type of epithelial tissue that lines the body cavity that are exposed to the outside world, and they consist of goblet cells that secrete mucus that lubricates that particular area of the body. Now, body cavities that are exposed to the outside world are lined with mucous membranous epithelium. That's what we have right there. Now, when they say serous membranous epithelium, they are type of epithelium that lines the body cavity that are not exposed to the outside world. Our last class was body cavity. You understand what I'm saying very well. So, example of serous membranous epithelium now is pericardia, pleura. Pericardia, what do we have over there? We will have the heart. What of the pleura? We will have the lungs. Now, example of the mucous membranous epithelium, we are going to see it here in the digestive tract and respiratory tract. Those part of the body are exposed to the outside world, and they will have goblet cells. Alright, class, those are the things that you still need to know about, the basic things about epithelial, so that you don't get confused whenever you do your test. Look out for many sources that you could have. Now, there are 3 surfaces of epithelial tissue that you must know as a science student when it comes to discussing epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue have 3 surfaces. We have apical surface, we have lateral surface, we have basal surface. Now, I would like to just quickly talk about it and make a very good illustration that is very, very making sense. Now, apical, we check the apical surface. The apical surface are like finger-like projection. That's what we have over there. And they are the functional surface of epithelial tissue. They project directly into the lumen of an organ. That is the apical surface. The basal surface allows the epithelial tissue to rest on the basement membrane. The lateral surface of epithelial tissue connect the epithelial tissue with the neighboring tissue or allow for communication with the neighboring tissue. That's what the lateral surface does. Now, class, so now let me just give a brief illustration over the what is basement membrane. Basement membrane acts as extracellular matrix for epithelial tissue. Now you can see that basement membrane is very small over here because it's acting as a what? Extracellular matrix. No, don't forget, extracellular matrix provides biochemical or structural support. Now there's a cellular junction between the between the basal surface of epithelial tissue and the basement membrane. That's why we have gap junction and adherence. Don't forget, you can refer to my video on cell junction. If you remember over there now, you could learn about the gap junction. Which protein are we going to have in the gap junction? Are we going to have connexin or connection protein? What of adherence? Are we going to have what? Which protein are we going to have? Cadherin. Don't forget. Okay, so now refer to my video so that you learn more about that. Now this is the basement membrane of epithelial tissue divided into two layers. We could have the upper basal lamina, then the lower reticular layer of the connective tissue. That's what we have as the basement membrane. After the basement membrane, we have lamina propria. So what is lamina propria, class? Lamina propria, they are type of connective tissue that anchor the epithelial tissue to an underlying tissue. Okay, that is what we have as the lamina propria. Let me make a quick illustration over there. Now, class, now if I add a brush, this brush can be regarded as an epithelial tissue for me. Now you see this place that I'm holding, this one, this is the finger-like projection. This finger-like projection serves as the apical surface of the epithelial tissue. Now this guy is resting at this place now serves as the basal surface, the down parts. Now all these apical and the basal surface are resting on something. This guy provides structural support for them. Without this, we won't have this to use. So now this can be regarded as the basement membrane. Now what of the andu? The andu serves as the what? The lamina propria. Don't forget what the lamina propria does. It connects the epithelial tissue and anchors it to the what? Underlying tissue. Do you see that? So for you to hold this brush, you have to hold it to the what? The lamina propria, which is the andu. Alright, because that makes sense. So now let me not be biased. For the ladies, when you are using your comb, don't mind them. Now here now is what we have as the what? The apical surface of our epithelial tissue. Now what of here now? We have it at the basal surface. Now here is the basement membrane. Then the andu serves as the what? The lamina propria. So now as a lady, when you use this now, you angle it to the lamina propria. You are using your apical surface, which is the functional surface. Then you are having your what? Your basement membrane and the basal surface over here. So this stands for the epithelial tissue for the ladies. Then for the guys, these are your what? Epithelial tissue surfaces. Your apical is the finger-like projection. They are resting on the basement membrane. Then your angle should be what? Lamina propria. That makes sense. Okay? So now class, let's take it off. That is what we have as the surfaces of epithelial tissue. What are the characteristics? Very quick. Cellularity. Epithelial tissue has more cells and fewer extracellular matrix. The basement membrane is very small. Then we have more cells. Epithelial tissue have few cells. That's what we have. Polarity, they have two oppositional surfaces. Now, what of attachment? Each epithelial tissue rests on the basement membrane. That is one of the characteristics of epithelial tissue. Each epithelial tissue rests on the basement membrane. Intercellular junction, I've told you about that. Gap junction and adherence junction, that's what we have. That's one of the characteristics of epithelial tissue. Development. Epithelial tissue develop from the 3-cell unit, from ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Now, avascular, that's one of their characteristics. Epithelial tissue lack blood vessels. Now, regeneration, epithelial tissue has the ability to regenerate. Example, epithelial tissue lines your skin very well. That makes sense. Alright, class. So now that is all the basis we need to know about epithelial tissue. Let's see the classification and the types very quick. So now, class, when we say classification of epithelial tissue can be classified based on size and shape. You see that? Based on size and shape. Now, there is one golden rule that guides epithelial tissue. The size must always come before the shape. Now, let's talk about the size. When we say simple epithelium, they are type of epithelium with a single layer. Now, when we say stratified epithelium with 2 or more layers, that is what we call stratified. Pseudo-stratified simply means a type of epithelium that has a single layer that resembles double layer. Now, the word pseudo in science simply means false. So now, when somebody is making a statement for you and you know that the person is lying, that person is making a pseudo statement. So now, pseudo means false. Stratified simply means double layer. So now, when it says pseudo-stratified, means that a single layer that tries to resemble double layer, which is stratified, that's where it is pseudo-stratified epithelium. Now, we have transitional epithelium too. Transitional epithelium has 2 layers like a stratified layer. They are type of stratified epithelium that allow for stretching. You see that? You can only see them in bladder, the urethra, and the urethra. That is where you find transitional epithelium. That is the only part of the body you find them. Okay, so class, let's see the shape of epithelial tissue. Whenever epithelial tissue are flat, we call them squamous. That is flat shape. Now, what do they do now? They help in lubrication. That is what they help in lubrication, and they prevent against friction and abrasion. Friction and abrasion. That is what squamous does, mostly in the body. Now, what of cuboida? Cuboida are cube in shape. That is one thing you must know. They are found in glands and they are responsible for secretion. You find them in glands more. This is that in liver and breast, as when you find them in pancreas. Now, columnar epithelium. Now, when you say columnar simply means they are longer than they are wide, quite irregular in shape. That shape is quite sporadic. They are longer than they are wide. They are intermittent in shape. That is what we have over there. And there is room for secretion and absorption. That is what you see for columnar epithelium. So, class, don't forget the golden rule that is that the size must come before the shape. So the classification of epithelial tissue leads to the types of epithelial tissue. Alright, so let's talk about the types of epithelial tissue. Don't forget the golden rule, size come before the shape. So now when we add the type now, simple squamous, simple stratified squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, that is how we have it. The size is coming before the shape. Now for simple squamous epithelium, you find them in lesser mechanical impact in the body, you find them in blood vessels, you find them in glomerulus, in alveoli of lungs, in glomerulus of kidney too. Now, whenever we have simple squamous epithelium in blood vessels, we call it endothelium. That is how we have it. Whenever we have any simple squamous epithelium in body cavity, we call them mesothelium. These things are very important for you to know. Okay, so let's see. Stratified squamous epithelium, we find them in skin, in vagina, in mouth, in upper esophagus. Stratified squamous epithelium are seen in the area of the body that undergoes more mechanical impacts. Alright, so now simple cuboidal are found in the kidney tubules, in proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubules, in bronchioles, ovary, pancreas, in the liver, so you can also see them there. Stratified cuboidal epithelium, they are found in mammary gland, they are found in salivary gland, in the sweat gland. That is where you find stratified cuboidal epithelium. Now, simple columnar epithelium. Now, simple columnar epithelium, they start from the stomach and end in intestine. You see that all the small intestines, the large intestines are all of them are lined with simple columnar epithelium. They are more found in the digestive system very well. They are also found in the female reproductive system, in the uterus, in the fallopian tube. Don't forget, that is where you have the word simple columnar. Stratified columnar epithelium, we find them in part of some pharynx, larynx, conjunctiva, the pharynx part of the conjunctiva of the eye. Then we also have epiglottic of larynx. We only have the UXI. You can also see the stratified columnar. Then pseudostratified, we don't have pseudostratified squamous and cuboidal. We only have pseudostratified columnar in human. So what of pseudostratified squamous and pseudostratified cuboidal? You can learn about that. And the science makes you must be curious about science. You see that? Science is about being curious and being known about your curiosity. Go into research and go and say, why don't we have pseudostratified squamous in human? You can learn about that very well. So pseudostratified columnar epithelium, they are found in the respiratory tract and the male reproductive system. The respiratory tract, they have it in nasal cavity, in part of larynx, in part of trachea. They are like trachea, they like trachea absolutely, and bronchi. Then in the male reproductive system, we find them in pars deferens and epididymis. Okay, so class, this is what we have about the epithelial tissue. So what are the functions of epithelial tissue? They help in secretion, in absorption, in protection, they help in lining, in filtration, in division. Those are the functions of the epithelial tissue that you need to know as a science student. Then whenever we have the skin, we could be saying something like keratinized and non-keratinized. When they say keratinized, that place has keratin protein. It prevents that area from water. Those parts are water repellent. So skin is lined with keratinized squamous epithelium, which is stratified. You see that? So now keratinized simply means it repels water. Non-keratinized simply means it does not have keratin protein. That one water can be retained. So in the mouth, we also have stratified squamous epithelium, but water can stay in the surface. That's why they say non-keratinized. Whenever it is keratinized, that is water repellent. Water cannot stay on that surface. This is everything you need to know about epithelial tissue for now. In the future, we make project some slide for you in histology to see as God take us higher and higher and higher. Thank you for watching.